$8, 40 minutes, zero gameplay. If I told you that this is one of the latest Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives, would you believe me? Moreover, would you believe me if I told you that it is one of my favorite games of the year? Okay, that part is believable, but the mere existence of Dear Me I Was is unprecedented. Perhaps it makes sense as an indie project similar to the likes of Florence, but no, it was developed and published by Arc System Works. You know, the same company who went from Dragon Ball to Marvel? Now, if you happen to recognize the aesthetics, it's kind of starts to make sense. Behind the vivacious watercolors is Taisuke Kanasaki, an artist most well known for Hotel Dusk and Another Code. Both of these are narrative-heavy titles directed by the man himself, but this is where it gets even more intriguing. Kanasaki is not the lead director of Dear Me I Was. That honor belongs to Maho Taguchi. Not only is this her directorial debut, it is specifically designed for adult women, a demographic that is rarely catered to. I may not be exactly what they were picturing, but when I did beat this game, I was nearly speechless. I could not find the words to describe how I felt. All I knew was that it made me reflect on life. Not just the protagonist, or my own, but life in general. It's one of those games that will keep you awake at night, trying to sort your thoughts out. It wasn't until 3 a.m. to the sound of rain that I was finally able to sort my own. Unlike Hotel Dusk or Another Code, Dear Me I Was is not a mystery adventure. It is an interactive character study on an average normal girl. Though her plights are naturally grounded and relatable, they never end up feeling cliché. She's like a girl you've met 1,000 times, but one you've never stopped to consider. Still, it would be all too easy for these matters to be boring, especially since there is less gameplay here than a visual novel. In fact, if Florence was considered to have minimal gameplay, then one could argue that Dear Me I Was isn't even a video game. I don't necessarily agree with that. To me, a video game isn't about winning or losing, it's about immersion born of player interaction. And Dear Me I Was has just enough to further immerse myself. Sure, the interactions may be fleeting, but what's most important is that each of them is meaningful. For instance, one of the most common objectives is to eat, simply performed by clicking through her food. While this initially comes across as mundane, it is likely because of that tedium that the player will take note of what she is eating. All it takes is a meal to convey where she's at in life as she continues to age every chapter. Dear Me I Was knows exactly what it is. It isn't trying to have gameplay for the sake of it. It doesn't need mechanics to enthrall when it already nails the two key ingredients of its story. The first being, of course, the presentation. If you are interested in being an artist of any kind, this is sure to inspire. Admittedly, I am quite ignorant when it comes to describing the visual arts, but luckily for me, the sheer beauty of the illustrations will leave the both of us speechless. But it isn't just for show. The art and notably color are integral assets to the storytelling. It progresses in a way that is unexpected and satisfying. This is the type of mastery that turns shortcomings into strengths. It may not be fully animated, but your eyes can't turn away. There may not be any dialogue, yet every moment is understood. Even if the details escape you, you will comprehend emotion. It is a quintessential example of show, don't tell. But what is equally, if not more important to this narrative is how human the protagonist is. The way her mistakes and regrets continue to follow her into adulthood. The way she doesn't quite understand her own feelings, and it takes her decades to do so. That is the authentic, unadulterated human experience. No hardship we suffer is ever truly over. Everything is a work in progress that we have no choice but to carry forward. As a result, Dear Me I Was is a bittersweet tale. Once you realize how quickly time flies, you start to dread the protagonist's mortality, and you become more and more desperate to reach a happy ending, wishing that, for her sake, it could have only happened sooner. But while it was difficult to not feel sympathetic, it is the player who ends up being the most affirmed. The grief is immune to age. She is a timeless reminder that it's never too late to change. I don't want to build up the plot as if it's this intricate drama, because it's not. No, it is modest, yet effective, and incredibly sincere. I completely recognize that the target audience is few in numbers. By no means would I ever call it a must-play or even a must-watch, but it is a fascinating piece, the very definition of a passion project. In spite of the corporate obsession to remove the soul behind artistry, this is the most genuine form of human expression that simply must exist. To put out a 40-minute esoteric video game with virtually no gameplay, with barely any marketing, under the label of a prestigious fighting game company, all for the sole purpose of wanting to tell a remarkably particular story. No AI or shareholder could ever make that up, because that isn't just impractical and risky, that isn't just ambitious, that is human. Unmistakably so.